Hello again, Lori George here, this time with a discussion related to divine, emperor, empress, feminine and masculine unions that saturate today's current energy, especially within the tarot community. Stay with me now. I begin by applauding the tarot community for their assistance during my sort through of recent life events. And like many of you are accustomed to say, if you know, you know. I'll do my best to speak more slowly on this one due to the information. If your attention span is mature, I assure you, you'll take home something of value if you listen to the end. Let's get to it. When I first realized that my life was being read on the daily within general tarot readings, I moved forward to the edge of my chair and began consuming content all day long. This was back in May of this year, this being 2024. When it was said that an enormous family inheritance from birth was involved, I had to laugh. How on earth would it be possible for such a large sum of money to be stolen for such a long time without any type of knowledge, and with an entire community involved in the plot? Since no names were mentioned and none of this information could be verified, it was difficult to know for sure whom the benefactor really was. So the thought of stepping forward sounded like an act of lunacy. Who would do that? I did step forward online in a YouTube presentation titled Not Hiding, a Message in Response to Mo. Since then, 10 more videos have been published, 3 others on the same channel as the Mo video, and 7 on a second YouTube channel once the other channel became compromised soon after the video titled Curious Elephants, Issues Under Reconstruction was published. This double-mindedness situation where the information can't be verified, in this case intentionally created within my YouTube feed, is a perfect example of what professionals in the field of psychology call cognitive dissonance. Fortunately for me, I have a graduate degree in this field. Other heavily utilized tactics in mind cluckery experienced since April of this year are shrouded identity, group rejection, social defamation, identity disruption, and more. All straight out of classic cognitive dissonance research studies, according to Cooper, 2007. If you watched the Mo video, you'll remember that at that time, no contact had been made by phone, text, email, or a visit to my home, and no information was forthcoming in any manner from the Social Security Administration regarding the spousal support hearing I'd attended on April 24th of this year. To date, now October 4th of 2024, no contact regarding its outcome has been received by snail or email, phone, or hand-delivered notification. The Social Security representative in 2 separate offices either can't even locate the hearing information or can't seem to return my calls. To busy myself, I decided to map out this adventure graphically. You can see on this frame. This is page 1 of a 2-page times 2. It's a double spread from the beginning as closely as I can remember. To date, there have been 7 suitors in rapid succession. 6 were, in air quotes, divine masculines, and 1, early on in May, was a hitman who'd parked his car outside my apartment living room window for close to a week, until I realized he may have had something to do with an event involving one of my granddaughters regarding pregnancy, and another of my granddaughters, an event that's not fully disclosed to me, or I would say unverifiable at the time of this writing, but horrendous if true. The first suitor was a man who connected with me on LinkedIn, a site that compromises my computer every time I visit, which I rarely visit anymore. I quickly declined the offer of marriage to the hitman telepathically, and he moved on. I never met the man in person, but the tarot was playing out simultaneously in lockstep with events occurring in my environment. If this sounds bizarre, I assure you it was. Among the suitors whose current life stories or music and project videos would be presented in my YouTube feed were the LinkedIn contact, a headhunter. Number 2, the hitman outside my apartment. Number 3, Kevin Costner. Number 4, Matt McClure, suggested as Jesus or being presented as Jesus in this narrative. Number 5, Michael Jackson. Yes, Michael Jackson. Number 6, former President Trump presenting as Jah or Jehovah. And 7, the Most High currently. Tell me there's no MK Ultra involvement in my YouTube feed. Numerous tarot readers will attest to the fact that persistent energies continually took over their general collective readings during that time. One reader stated that if you ask a spirit their name specifically, they must comply. So I asked, "Are you Trump presenting as Jehovah?" To which 2 double confirmations through a general read came as yes, yes. One specific general reading mentioned that my new emperor had been delayed in coming to me because he was married currently, but seeking divorce in order to make it my way. How odd, I thought to myself. Why would I want someone like that, even if it's supposed to be Jehovah? Then I saw that T-Man and his wife were experiencing difficulties with a potential divorce on the horizon. This one's a no-brainer, for how long would it be before he does the same to me? I said aloud, ending this suitorship as well. Tarot readings then mentioned how disturbed and confused, in air quotes, the Emperor was about the ending of this relationship. I'm aware of how strange all of this is, believe me. On September 4th of this year, shortly after this, I presented to my local emergency room with abdominal pain that I was certain was a ruptured appendix. My root and sacral chakras were and still are a twist and only semi-functional today. Following this, numerous general tarot readers charted the demise of 3 divine males, 1 an emperor, 1 a fallen angel, and 1 an ex, this one who'd supposedly faked his own death, the one for whom the Social Security hearing involves. Also involved was the home his daughters refused to let me occupy following his death, and the wrongful imprisonment of their half-brother, my stepson Manuel Mendoza Jr. of Wichita Falls, Texas, who received 40 years in prison, even after the 2 nieces recanted their claims against him. I'd asked the hearing judge to look into these issues after her prompt for further assistance before the hearing ended. Throughout this rapid-fire succession of suitors, I would ask aloud curiously, what does an inheritance have to do with marriage? And why do I have to be married to receive my inheritance, or do I? Then entered the change in positions or opportunities I was being presented, again through general tarot readings. I never had a personal reading, for I still can't afford to buy a cup of coffee. Meanwhile, I'm hearing how the numerous thieves are making off with the inheritance yet again, even though spiritual and local court proceedings were taking place simultaneously. What the heck is really going on here? All that said, I recently Googled such inquiries as National News Stolen Inheritance, Elites Taking from the Poor, and another I'll discuss later. The first inquiry returned a result for Oxfam, OXFAM, discussion papers. One paper titled, Extreme Wealth is Not Merited, written in November of 2015. The paper asserts that an individual has the right to hold extreme wealth according to their social contribution, which is based on group agreement. Could it be that an associated or invested institution or corporation is tasked with identification of such errors in order to ensure that their social contributions never reach maturity, which would then disqualify them as a social non-contributor, unworthy of inheritance or inheritances? Now it doesn't seem quite so funny, does it? Since most of these events cannot be verified, plausible deniability enters, especially in a no-contact situation, and even more so from a YouTube video, right? So plausible deniability would fill in the cracks of an insanity judgment with the use of Cinderella-type stories of divine feminine, divine masculine, prompts to put yourself out there and claim the throne, numerous suitors of social notoriety without any credible contact, and harassment by phone from countless different numbers on the daily, beginning around July 15th. These began suspiciously following a program for American aid for supplemental income being advertised on TV and phone. I clicked on and exited the application before completing the process. Then the calls began, and almost all would hang up after I'd said hello. Back to the suitors. Without being able to verify whether these things were true, being featured on YouTube or elsewhere, some could even play the role of God and get away with it. And one actually did play that role. Shortly following a trauma-bonded marriage, and while one's head is still spinning, falsified documents and signatures could be procured. A new husband or wife could meet their demise, and an entire inheritance could be scooped up. Wow. But how does one find themselves a wealthy heir? Funny you should ask. The second Google inquiry was made after Rising on October 1st, just a few days ago. The name Octam Offenhauser, O-C-H-T-A-M, Offenhauser, O-F-F-E-N-H-A-U-S-E-R, was fresh in my mind for an unknown reason, but returned no match. It did lead me down an interesting rabbit hole of at least 7 men, yes, 7, with the same name, a Peter Offenhauser, and similar age, and all working at the same or similar data management companies, like Rocket Reach, M Bold, that's capital M and then the word bold, M Bold, GSA, and Northern Pacific Group. How peculiar. Within the Rocket Reach hole, I discovered 12 of the mentioned 13 patents on their website, 8 of which may explain how data susceptibility may lead to nefarious use, but most specifically 3. I'll read the titles of the patents and the publication date. Visual interface to indicate custom binning of items in 2010. The second is guided cluster attribute selection in 2008. And system and method for determining search items for use in sponsored searches in 2010. Rocket Reach defines itself as, quote, the easiest and most accurate email finder for sales and recruiting prospects in the world, end quote. Paragraph 1 on their website. Well, we've reached a point where we need to recap. I shared the tumultuous story of the onslaught of divine suitors, most of whom are known public figures, to the point where you might even swear that this is sheer madness, that my cheese has slidden off my cracker. This covers the plausible deniability aspect for sure for those charged with assessment of mental fitness. Because how could you verify these suitors, especially when they're known public figures and you've had no contact, right? Next, the trauma caused by excessive, rapid-fire events would interfere with one's ability to carry on with routine daily life. Finally, toxic narratives of family, friends, and even hitmen talking trash, performing spell work, or attempting to unalive a person, all at the same time, would be certain to destabilize and drive one a bit nutty, but surely would being found in a state of poverty. which is where I've been most of my adult life. Victim mentality? No, this is actual victimization at the local, corporate, and institutional level in order to claim that the person is non-contributory and unstable, especially for extreme wealth. It's outright fraud times 2. On the front end, honest-hearted folks buy life insurance for support of their surviving loved ones, to have a corporation swoop in, discredit their heirs, and then steal it on the back end, along with the numerous accomplices required to ensure its secrecy along the way, through the court system, into their pockets. 2 of my suitors will soon be exposed for just that, theft of inheritance disbursements sometime in June, and again around the time the former Mrs. T was paid to speak formally, an event she supposedly demanded of her husband to pay. Do locate and download the paper and 12 of the 13 patents and read them for yourself. You'll find them in the references section on the next slide. Hey, I hope this information has been helpful. And as always, be richly blessed.